Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. It is Thursday, October 26th, the last Thursday in October. So we are ending this month. We have one more Tuesday in October for Viva for the review, commit, and recommit month. So good morning. I am the badass Buddha, Lori Monaco, coming to you from a beautiful and not so chilly today. Eastern Tennessee, where the sun has been lovely and the weather has been absolutely phenomenal, beautiful fall weather, and no rain in sight, which I don't know if that's a good thing or bad. Good morning, Gail. You know what, Gail? I meant to text you after the show on Tuesday because Gladiator Guru and I were thinking about you and wondering if you were okay. And I apologize sincerely because we had actually said it. We even said it on the show and then after the show. And then I just went on and moved on to something else. So I apologize. So we hope you are feeling okay and we're happy to see you. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Milagros. We missed you as well, Milagros. And Evelyn was first in line, 3 times the glam Evelyn. So thank you, everybody, for being here.
Yay, Evelyn. Buenos días, mi gente. Aquí con catarro. Good morning, Evelyn, Kathy, Gail, Milagritos. It's always good to see you. I think it was the change from the fall weather in Connecticut and then coming back to Florida to 84 degrees did something. But yes, good morning. Happy to be here. Feliz martes. And, I haven't asked this question, but what's in your taza de café today?
Yes. God,
What are you drinking?
So far away from that.
If you're having coffee or tea,
Milagros,
mention it. I'm having Café La Llave with the splash of evaporated milk because now they come in all sorts of caloric value. Yeah, and the no sugar. But here we are. Mi tacita de café, that even though I have a cold and a congested chest, still gonna have this taza de café. So what's in your taza? We went away from talking about the passions of coffee every Tuesday. And I found a whole folder when I was going over some paperwork. I know today's Thursday, but we're gonna let's
okay.
Go for it. Let's play pretend.
Go for it.
And I found all of my Viva papers where I mentioned something about coffee, whether it was my best friend, my pañuelo de lágrimas, whether it was the hug that I needed and no one was around. I mean, my confidant. It was like, wow, coffee does mean a lot to me. You have saw that so early, Milagros? María, ¿qué te pasa?
Ooh, you're in trouble.
So I mean, I know Milagros doesn't drink coffee, but she does drink tea, and I have my cup over here with some elderberry healing tea, a cough drop, and some honey because that's also what I've been drinking. So I alternate. But Passions of Viva Cafe con Leche was all brought up because of love of coffee.
Love of coffee. Yep.
Just when I'm alone, when I'm just very pensive, when I'm creative, when coffee is what brings everybody together. Oh, what are you doing next Tuesday? Let's meet up for coffee. Come over for coffee. After dinner, let's have coffee. I need a guilty pleasure. Girl, me too. I just haven't drank soda in many, many years, except like a spur. Yeah, me too.
Kathy's going with just what today? Water, Kathy? Is that all you're going for?
Good
Oh,
morning, David.
David Lee in the house. Good morning, David.
Oh,
We
you're
leave
going to New Orleans. Okay, David, let me know. And yeah, we can because I'm back in Tampa. Oh, just water. That's good. I was thinking about the before we go into the mantra, the the Daniel fast. I was reading into that, but I gotta really dig into it because people take something and warp it. Like they'll take everything and make it more to where you end up on some kind of meds. They've taken the Sebi diet and added shit he didn't want in it so you can get sick and then go to the doctor. So I just have to research. Other than that, just cut the sugar and cut the meat and walk. Just carry on.
So you
Water
cut the
today.
sugar and you cut meat now out of your diet?
Yes, I want to cut meat out of my
So
diet.
I thought you were going to do the Kairos
Yeah,
plan.
I was think I can't do the meat. The meat is becoming so disgusting to me. The smell of it, the not knowing if it's synthetic or real.
You
So
can
I
do you could do a vegetarian version of that.
Yeah, so I don't want to be a pest. What is it? Pescatarian?
No,
Pes-
pescatarian eats fish,
yeah,
just fish.
that's what I'm saying. I don't want to do that. I don't. It's right, Gail. It's just, and it's not fear because I'm really not a fearful person. I'm more of a let me see if it's true. They said cut chicken out for 30 days and you're gonna notice your body. It's gonna be totally different. Just like Karen Sama says, cut the sugar for 30 days, you're gonna notice a big difference in your body, even your mind, I guess, from eating all that meat with the torture that they're doing to the animals. So I'm just gonna do all meat. I'm just gonna cut all meat. Deli meat has become disgusting to me for many years now.
Well, it
But
is disgusting.
uh,
I said, well, it is disgusting.
so yeah, so I mean, why not? I'm gonna be 55 next month, and I'm saying why I'm starting late, so I have to speak of it to the younger people so they can at least test it out for themselves. Don't believe everything you hear, don't believe everything you see, don't believe everything you read, believe everything of what you feel. So I mean, I wish I had somebody in my late 20s, early 30s say, hey, why don't you just try it. You don't have to believe what I'm saying, just try it. We didn't have that.
Well, the
I
question is too, though, that even if you did, would you have? You're a different person
I
then.
tried everything when I was young.
Did
Blue
you?
here, red here, pink here. I
No,
tried
but that's different.
piercings.
Eating is like a total eating plan is very different. People get very set in their ways, and that's like somebody saying, "Hey, listen, if you cut out coffee and stop smoking for 6 months, you're going to feel like fantastic," and that might
Hmm.
not resonate with you very well. It's like you got to pick what.
Well, we all need a vice, and like Milagro says, we got to pick something, right? And you're right, and it will. I know it will. Um, Coffee still doesn't keep me up. I thought it did for a time, and then I tested out that theory. And no, the other night I had a cup of coffee at 2:30 in the morning. Finished up, finished talking. By 3:15, I'm rinsing my mouth. Last time I looked at the clock was 3:30 in the morning, but it was because I was finishing something. And then I was like, that was my treat. I'm done with this part of it. Let me treat myself. But you're right, and that's something we gotta think about. But the thing is, are you willing to be better for you tomorrow than you are for yourself today?
And
And
that's what
I'm
you
at
have
the
to
point
own.
where I am in love. I am loving my body. Um, um, there was something I wrote. It should be posted soon. But I am loving my body, but it's not happy. And that's what you gotta admit. So I'm not bullying my body with the weight gain. I'm actually loving and nurturing her, but we're not happy. And it's okay to say that. It's not an oxymoron. I love you, but I'm not happy, which means let's heal. Let's battle this. Let's get right. And if you can say that to yourself, yeah. But you know what? My younger self, I've tried a little bit. I think I was a little too daring back then. And I already knew from a young age what I didn't like. Like, I wouldn't eat cuchifrito. I wouldn't eat pig's feet. I wouldn't eat bacalao salad. Like, my mother hated me because she always had to make me something different because I wouldn't eat that shit. And so, I mean, you know what you know, but we love meat because what's a poor person's food? White rice, fried eggs, and or white rice, beans, and a fried pork chop, a fried chicken, steak and onions. You know, the cube steak. So I'm saying, you know what? Try it. And we're not who we were. We're who we are right now. So would I have at a younger age? I don't know, but people at a younger age today are different than what we were back then because they have more choices, more opportunity, and more valuable information. So whatever I would have done in the past, it led me to where I'm at today. So let's just be better.
Well,
Let's
and that's the whole point. That's the whole point of our conversation of I own part two. This is, we can't go back and change what the past was. So if eating is one element, physical activity is another element, our mental and emotional states, we have to own them. We have to own the choices that we've made in the past, whether they were, good or not. I struggled with that for a really long time. I mean, all the education that I have had as a chiropractor and knowing, that this is what you should eat. I'm going to should on myself and should on other people. This
I
is what
love
you
your
should
sweater.
eat. This is what you should not eat. And I knew all this, and yet I still didn't follow any of it, because I was so low on myself that I wanted to just have the excuse to eat the crappy stuff. And it took its toll on me. I mean, at my biggest, I was 200 and what was I like almost 220. I was like wearing a size 20 was tight on me. And I finally got down to my lowest I got down to was a few back in 2020 when I was 145. But then I gained the weight back again, just about all of it. And not, but I wasn't up at 220. I had kept myself at like 180, in the 170s. And then I started to lose it again, and now I'm back down to like one. I was over the summer when I was here working at the house, I was 154, and then I'm like back up at like 160 when I went back up north.
But you
Um,
look good.
but
You have the
well,
nice
thanks,
hips, you
thanks. But
know.
but it's not about for me. Yeah, part of it is about looking good, but the other part is my stamina. Like the amount of heavy lifting that I have done over the last 3 weeks and checking myself. What is my stamina? How much can I lift? How long can I lift it for? How sore am I the next day? So those become all the important factors. And then I have to own the fact that I didn't drink enough water. I don't drink enough water on a daily basis. I haven't been eating as healthy as I should be. And sometimes we do need to should on ourselves because it's not a shameful should. It's a, come on, man, you know better and you've done better, but you're like allowing this to come back. So what's the reasoning behind it? So I have to own all of that stuff, and I have been sore when I got up, and for the longest time I wasn't. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's directly correlated. Like in unpacking things, I found a couple of bags of candy from last year, from last year's Halloween, and they're good. They're still good. So we're going to add them to the current bags. Which again, it's like they're in the house. So normally I'm in control of that, but lately I've been picking at it. And in my head, I'm going, what's the point of picking at it? What do I need this for? Like, why is this important to me? And so I have to own the fact that there's still something there that just I refuse to let go of, that is wanting permission to keep eating this stuff when I know I feel so lousy with it. And I want to be able to, I mean, look, I set my office up. Let me see if I could show everybody. I set my office up. It was when I tell you on Tuesday, it was a complete wreck. It was just boxes and boxes of stuff. But I want my office to not only represent, health and wellness. I want it to represent me, and I want to represent the space, so that when people come to me and they get help seek help from me, that it's all like I'm not bullshitting. You know, for many years I was, you know, for when I was in full-time private practice, I wasn't in alignment with what I was, you know, trying to teach people. And that's probably why I ended up getting into personal injury as opposed to wellness care. And now I'm at that point where I'm like, I want to be in wellness care. Like, that's why I got into this field, whether it's doing coaching to help people move past traumas and abuse, or if it's you know, aligning their spine, you know, keeping their stamina, their physical, their physiological pieces. It's like I want all of that back in my life. So I own the fact that I still have things that I have to work on, and I have to say to myself, is that this is important to me, so what's getting in the way of me, you know, making the right choices? And to be honest with you, I haven't made horrible choices. I've done pretty well considering we don't really have a kitchen. We have a makeshift kitchen in the dining room because we're having the kitchen renovated, and I managed to pull off some really good meals, you know, on the burner, on the grill. I mean, it's just funny. So I'm not beating myself up about this, but I'm not going to go hit the little specialty store where they have these really cool snacks, because those really cool snacks are not what I want to have in the house, you know. You're on mute, I think.
And because I'm coughing, you know, the bottom line is here is everybody's gonna have an opinion. You know, it doesn't matter if you ask somebody for advice or if you're just venting. We listen to speak. We listen to respond. And it's so hard not to, though, right? Have you been trying it? I have. I have for a while now because that was my biggest thing. And then I blamed it. You know, my excuse was, well, I'm Italian and Puerto Rican. You know, what do you expect? We overspeak everybody in our family. But the thing is, it was that. And it's a challenge. Now, if you want to take over anything, your weight, your food intake, your change your whole lifestyle, try sitting there on your hands, just listening and not responding until it's your turn. It's so difficult. People are like, I can do that. It is the hardest thing when it is not your thing. Correct, badass?
Yes.
So I think, you know, like with everything in our lives, you have to figure your shit out. It is your life. It is your camino. What you do and don't do is your choice. And you have to be courageous to choose your choice. Not what everybody's doing. Remember, don't follow the masses because the M is always silent. But you have to do it. If you are one who's accustomed to say, well, so and so said to do this, and so I read a book and they said to do that's not my fault. You know what? Stay away from those people. Two arms distance, right? But you make the choices. You make the changes. You live the lifestyle. And if you want to be successful, then you got to work to be successful. And lately, I have been just like I'm saying, I've been doing a lot of stuff, and all that's been coming up, and I'm like, God, I got it. I got it. All right, already. We don't even realize sometimes how comfortable we become in our discomfort, because we do shit that we don't normally would not have done in a lot of years, and then we're doing it. And then you look back and you're like, damn, I've been doing this shit for 4 weeks. I don't even like that. But I've been doing it, you know, and it's been very disappointing to my lack of of handling this and trying to handle this and figuring this out. And again, just compartmentalize what you got to do. Put everything in a different pile and handle each pile according to. I've done that and I haven't done that. So that's where we're at. But there was Badass Buddha, could we please do the mantra?
Sure.
We haven't done it. And
All right,
you know,
here we
I'm
go.
sorry, but it's been a couple weeks now, my Facebook has acting up, so I got to delete the app and then put it back on just so that I can do something really quick before it goes blank like this.
You've been having so much challenge with
My
technology.
laptop and then now my phone. I'm so serious. It's like what's the message here?
It sounds like somebody doesn't want the message to get out.
Yeah, like what is it? Am I supposed to stay away from all this computer stuff? I don't know. Don't say that because I'm borrowing my niece's laptop. I don't want to be responsible
All
for
right, so here we go. We're gonna say it loud and say it proud. I am a disruptor.
I am a disruptor.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am magically orgasmic.
Ole,
And I keep it real.
all day, no doubt. All day, no doubt. There's a meme that says, um, when you want to hear the truth, come to me or something like that. That's why I only have 3 friends. And that's what you got to do. Be who you are, and then you attract who needs to be with you. But I wanted to, did you read all the comments? You are talking about accountability. I love you too. Good morning, Madeline. Technical issues, lots of energy floating around. Yes, this has been going on for weeks now. Okay, Badass Buddha's gonna lead us into the conversation today.
Well, you let us into. We already started, but again, this is the accountability week, and it is I own part 2. And again, we want you to reflect this week and really, sometimes we can start off with owning little pieces. We'll say, well, I'll take accountability for this. Like we pick and choose, and we really want you to go deeper than that. You don't have to announce the crap that you've done and like relive it for other people. This is not for other people, this is for you. So we want you to really dig deep and over the next few days say to yourself, what am I accountable in my life for? What have I been lying to myself about, and what do I need to take accountability for so that I can move on to the next step, and really sit with yourself. Like Gladiator Guru was talking about how a lot of times we really don't listen. Like when somebody's talking to us, we're already thinking about what they said and what we want to contribute, as opposed to listen and observing. And we've talked about this numerous times. We've talked about being still and really looking at your environment, looking at your life, sitting with yourself, being quiet. And if you really struggle with being quiet, like having moments to yourself, then you of all the people have to really do this, because okay, if you need to have a little bit of music or white noise, that's fine. But if you can't sit still, like you always have to be talking to somebody or listening to somebody, or you have to have a TV on, then that's going to speak volumes about you. And like you can't be by yourself. That's telling you something. And that to me is also, that's God and the universe's way of saying it has to be done. You have to force yourself to do that, because being in that space by yourself allows you to reflect. And you have a choice. You could either reflection or rumination. And rumination is just going over and over again the stuff that and just playing it over, where reflection is you think about what happened and then you think about what you learned and then you own it. And again, you don't have to shout this to everybody. This is for you, is coming to terms with saying, God, I hate admitting this to myself, but this is my truth. And the only way for me to move past this is to come to terms with that and admit it to myself. And then ask myself, do I like that or do I not like that? Because if you say, I like that, then, maybe you don't want to get rid of it, if it's a habit that's considered a bad habit, well, I like that. Okay. But is it serving you? That's the other thing. So you could say, well, I like eating potato chips and cookies. We'll get back to the weight thing. But if it's not serving you as far as your health is concerned, then that's when you have to say, okay, just because I like it doesn't mean that it's good for me and I need to keep going with this. And let me tell you something about food. sugar and salty preservatives, all that stuff, they trick you into thinking you need it and like it. They get your body addicted to it. That is the absolute truth of it. And you may say, "Oh, I love the taste of this. I can't give that up." But you know what? When you give it up for a little while, like a couple of months, and then you go back to it, you're actually unpleasantly surprised how much you don't really like it as much as you did, or like especially sweets. It was sweeter than you ever thought it was. And you're like, oh my God, how did I ever eat this? You know?
Mm-hmm.
But this is about coming to terms with self. It's about owning yourself. And this is it. This is to do this at the end of the year. We could enjoy the next 2 months and really um, slide into the the new year.
Yes, absolutely. And listening is a skill, would you say?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
skill that we have to learn.
Wait, what did you say? I'm sorry. What did you say?
You know, I've spoken to many people, many of my Boricuas growing up, and it's funny how some of us, the majority, were raised a different way. Now, I had the best teachers as parents. They were alcoholics and everything else under that umbrella, violent little fuckers, but not abusive towards us, right? Physically. Now, I've had cousins, my own cousins, that when they were getting yelled at, and I don't know, Laura, if that was part of you, you were not supposed to look at your parents when they were yelling at you. You were supposed to look down. Don't look at me, and blah blah blah.
Oh, I
And
don't know. No, I never
you,
had that.
you're getting punished, and so you're told not to do that. So when you're constantly doing that, what do? You clog your ears. You're like Harry Potter, and you're miraculously, magically clogging your ears. You're looking down at your shoes. You're wiggling your toes. You're doing everything, but you're not listening. Right? It's the same story. I was raised. Look at me when I'm talking to you, because you're gonna learn why I'm doing this, this, and that. So again, I believe we're all guilty of that. So what do you know about yourself that we need to hone in on our listening skills? Because one thing is, when you're alone and you hear something, do you hear it? Are you quick to have your ears serve as your eyes? That's listening to someone speak is also listening to the sounds of the world, right? Madeline said something. It's a message. Disruptions are just delays and detours, not that end. So listening is a pause. It is. Silence is a sound. And yet we just say, oh, there's nothing. I don't hear nothing. There's nothing. But there is. So know yourself enough to know that you matter in every essence of the word, and you need to improve. Just like you spent $20,000 10 years ago on renovating your kitchen, that shit's not working for you today. But people are like,
Yes.
oh, but you spend all this money. So what do? You got to weigh your options, right? You got to know, is this a style I can live with, or can I change other things instead of doing the whole counter stuff and all that? So what is it? Like, what skills do you need to sharpen, and what skills have you acquired in this lifetime that you're still dragging along with you, that you need to put to rest? You need to scrap it, take it to the scrap yard, get some money for it, trade it out. So when you know yourself, you know, okay, this is how I used to be. I could no longer do this for whatever reason. I don't want to do this, you know. And like the badass Buddha say, I'm gonna shoulda on myself, because she hates that, because you can't go back and change anything. You just can't, have to accept it, acknowledge it, and move on from it. You can't even use it as a point of reference anymore, because you're not there no more, and you can never go back there. And the only thing that you're feeling is the resonance of what happened that you have not let go of. But it can't trigger you, it can't hurt you, it can't do any of that shit. It's a memory. So when that happens, like I'm sorry. What do you know? I know no one can do what I have to do. No one. And let me tell you this, nobody wants to. Nobody gives a shit of what my dreams and aspirations are. When I'm doing it, you get the applause, you get the accolades, you get support. But that's your journey, your journey. So no one's gonna complete what you started, and no one's gonna help you really start what you want because although they'll support you, it's you. You got to know what the hell you want, and you have to know how to get there. And let me tell you something from a non planner, that is the most difficult part for me. Is sitting down, fucking figuring out step one, step two, step three, and four are twins, maybe a little fraternal, but they go together, and five and six. And it's like everything I've been through since last October 12 that I started the project that has yet to come to completion. And it has been frustrating. It has been this, it has been that. But you know what? The greatest thing I learned from that is I have patience. And I always thought that I was a very impatient person. But I do have patience. And although it's zigzag, up and down, I know that I had to go through those emotions because there was something happening in my spiritual realm that I just wasn't getting. And for those, Kathy and Madeline and the Badass Buddha, absolutely, there's a message being said that this technology is getting in my way, or the 5G, whichever one. But go ahead, Badass.
Oh, I was just reading some of these things. Like Madeline's saying, no, ma'am, you have a message. Disruptions are just delays and detours, not dead ends. And she said, right, it's about a pause. Listening is a pause. I
Mm-hmm.
said to Madeline, I had a comment. I said, yes, she does. If tech doesn't work, she can stand on the side of the road wearing a sandwich board and ringing a bell. Let's see. Kathy says, yesterday morning was incredibly peaceful. The weather was wonderful. I went outside and was on and off my hammock. And it's those moments that we have to, we have the right to enjoy those moments and be in the present time instead of guilting ourselves and saying, well, I have to be doing this and I have to be doing that. We've got to honor ourselves. Let's see what. Sometimes it's not about owning; it's about acceptance of what happened and moving on. Absolutely. Often I tell myself that I only make healthy choices for my body. Therefore, I only choose the foods body needs. Very good. Let's see. Madeline says I'm learning to stop and pause because I was a filler, and I told her I was too. Like I absolutely was. I was had to fill every empty space of a conversation. Yes, ma'am. Yep, that was me. Kathy says those numbers sound like an incredible dance lesson. I plan and then put that plan aside. Just need to understand the process and then go with the flow. Yeah. Um, okay. No phone yesterday. That's where she was outside. Later, I got my phone and took pictures of nature. Nice. Very nice.
And have you noticed that? Because I've been doing that. Or if I'm out, my phone is on total mute. The bells turned off and the volume's turned all the way off. Um, and have you noticed that when people try to reach out, oh my God, what? Or they'll call somebody else's phone. Why haven't you this and haven't you that? Because see, when you are present, you are not noticed.
I got to take care of something. Hold, I'm going to let you run the show for a few minutes. I got to take care of
Oh, thank you for your permission. Namaste.
something.
So, have you noticed that when you're available, when you're present, that people don't notice that you're there? They is an expectation. But when you go and you turn your phone off or you leave your phone when you're out doing something because why you got to take it everywhere with you like if it's an extra arm, then people start saying, where were you? I couldn't reach you. I called you, you never called back. Oh my God, you don't know how to return texts. It is in your absence that you are appreciated, that you are valued as a person. Like, oh my God, where is she? And in that absence of others, it is your true essence of presence. So It's really not a hard decision to make. I will be absent from the world, from its humans, from the spirit for this amount of time because I have to be present with myself and for me and Yahweh. You know, um, when you are, I don't need to be busy to be focused. I need when I'm like overly, my mind is filled with so much. Um, then I'll paint, I'll go in and I'll create art, or I'll make some teas and prepare my jars, or I write. And that just, but, and I like to do that, like looking out the window, or I'll go sit outside when it's breezy because I don't like Florida. It's just hot. So lately it's been kind of cool and windy. So I'll just go sit out there without my phone and just sit out there and breathe. And that helps me compartmentalize all my thoughts in its proper places, you know? And so I love my alone time. I'm an extrovert to the hilt. Anybody who's known me from the past, I'm always out and about, but I'm also the same balance of an introvert. When I'm home and I'm doing something, I don't want interruptions. I don't need company. I don't like people calling me and then calling me back to back because they want to talk. And that's an intrusion and you have every right to not answer. And then when you're ready to answer, respond with I was busy. Going forward, please leave me a message, because you know what, you have to take control of the disruptions outside of you, because sometimes we haven't learned us, but we know that when so and so calls us 3 times back to back, and then you answer because now you think something's wrong, and they're like, oh, hey, what you doing? And I'm like, what? It's exactly what I say. What happened? Oh, nothing, I was just, and then they go into it. And so you have to stop that. Stop filling in your spaces with bullshit, is what I want to say. There's enough bullshit going on in the world. So stop filling in your, because you can't control your thoughts, or because you don't like this feeling. Feel it, walk it out. Know who the hell you are with those emotions that you obviously own because they're with you. And stop trying to sidestep yourself and then get mad when someone else does it. Why are you getting upset because someone avoided you, or somebody tripped you off, or somebody said something that now you're triggered? Why the fuck are you triggered? Know who you are, know what you like, what you don't like, what you will accept, what's a maybe, what's an absolute no, and a hell yeah. Only you can tell us that. It's like when somebody gives a speech, they're like, oh my God, I'm so nervous, I'm so nervous. And I'm like, why? If you mess up, nobody's gonna know it's your speech. They didn't read it the night before coming to listen to your speech. You can't mess up on yourself. You can trip, but then you can pick yourself right up. So if you said something in the speech, and oh my God, I skipped the whole line. Pause and say the line, or don't say it. Maybe it wasn't meant to be, but don't stop and get all frazzled dazzled. Nobody knows what your speech was but you can be creative and add it in the end, or make a little note about it. But if you know who you are, then you know what you like, what you don't like, and what maybe will fit in on a certain amount of day. But be available every single moment of the day for you. Whether it's to say, Lori, leave me alone right now. Or Margarita, stop. Because that was me. Stop. Jesus. And I'll take a deep breath and I remove myself from where I'm at, because I get on my own damn nerves. I get on my nerves. I got to tell myself to stop sometimes. Last week, I was so twisted up like a salty pretzel. I couldn't sleep. I'm trying to figure it out, and mind you, I prayed on it. That I was like, I'm sorry, God, I keep giving it to you and taking it back. I'm such an Indian giver. Finally, I said, stop. I said, whatever
Oh,
happens,
politically
happens.
incorrect statement.
And it happened. So when you trust in the process, you got to just give all in. That's like like running naked in the middle of the road. You gotta trust yourself that no matter what, who, why, what, when, outside of you has an opinion, is pointing fingers, wants to drag you down or lift you up. It doesn't matter. What matters is who you are, what you know about yourself, where you're going to take yourself to, and that you get there and fuck everybody around you. The biggest thing today, even from people from my generation that have gotten so damn sensitive, and just keep that shit. I don't care what you do with your life, just don't bring it into my zone, because you will get offended. I know that about me. So you got to know what you are. Be Elsa, let it go. Yeah, we don't need to be available, Madeline. We don't need to be right. What's right? We don't need to be better than that. I'm not in competition, not even with the person I was yesterday, because the person I was yesterday got me to where I'm at today. Today, I'm responsible for who I am. I'm in competition with me, the one who woke up this morning, and the one who's going to end the day. Let's see what she got. What does she got? Other than that, you gotta, if you don't pay attention to you, that means you're not paying attention to anyone else. If you don't want to listen what someone else was talking about because you think you got it together, why are you present? Be where you need to be with what you know and have. And again, being in competition with somebody means you have low self-esteem. It means that you know that you can't make it. So that's why you hating. So check yourself. Who are you in competition with? I can't compete with the badass and her clients. She has her way of life coaching. She's a chiropractor. I'm not. So what do? There's nothing that the badass Buddha has that I want. Now, what the badass Buddha does is something to be admired. There's a difference. But I don't want to walk like her. I don't want to talk like her. That's her gig. Mine's is on a different wavelength. We speak different. Our sounds are different. She's more soft spoken. I'm not. And when I am soft spoken, I feel like I'm lying to myself. Like I'm in that imposter syndrome, trying to be somebody I'm not. So, it's like I look at old pictures. Yeah, that's who I envy. The me from 6 years ago when I walked my first Camino. So it's learn the words. Society has put so many words in our head. Competition's good for you. Yeah, with your own self. Where were you last week? So yes, Leanne, I appreciate individuality too. You know what? If the shit comes out of my thoughts, comes out of my mouth, that means it's mine. So I think know who you are, value who you are, appreciate who you're becoming, and honor who you were. Because you were somebody brave, someone badass, someone who said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to learn on this journey, and you made it to today. So who gives a shit about what happened yesterday? What happened is that you came out of yesterday. That's it. You came out of yesterday. Que fulano de tal, que la bichota de allá, que la vecina, que mi suegra, it doesn't matter. Who wounded you yesterday? That wounded person came out of that battlefield and you're here today. Go ahead, badass, because I got a cough.
Oh, thank you. Madeline, you mentioned this. You've mentioned this at least one other time about this too, about playing the villain or the hero or the victim in your life. And you're absolutely right. We argue those, like we want to be the villain and we want to be the victim. We want to, and it's not about that. It's all that is just a distraction and an excuse. And again, that's about coming to terms and being accountable to that. It's about saying, really, is this serving me any to play the victim? Is this serving me any to be the villain? Is this serving me any to be the hero? Why? The big question becomes why. Why do I feel the need to have to do that? Why do I feel the need to have to say those things or behave that way? And the only way to come to terms with that is to be able to sit still and pause with oneself and be honest with oneself. In other words, stop lying to oneself, because it's saying, why is this so important? Why do I have to have the last word in? Why do I have to worry about somebody else's business? Why do I have to try to control a situation? And it's not saying you can't and control a situation or try. It's not saying that you can't worry about somebody else. It's more of a, is this become most of my life every single day? Or is this a passing conversation that happens every so often to further understand things and then learn from them, not repeating. And those are things that I had to own. I again, changing my environment was a real big thing for me, which I knew it would be, is getting out of that space, getting away from the players and the situations, and being able to feel clear-headed and feel like I'm more in control of my choices and what I say or do, and the peacefulness has been incredible. Like, really, like, the quietness in this house has been incredible, because I love quiet. I like having a TV on sometimes, but I don't like having it on all the time. And the interesting thing is, as I've been cleaning and organizing, I've actually I've had my phone streaming like shows that I like, just in the background. I'm not really even paying attention to them. It's just, it's nice, because, and I thought to myself, oh, maybe I should, shitting myself, maybe I should put on like something powerful, something motivating, a person speaking and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't want to. And I'm okay with that. I'm not looking at it like it's a bad thing that I have these shows on. I'm looking at it like it's just allowing me to stay focused. And I've been hyper focused on organizing. See, if I was listening to someone speak, I tend to bring my attention to that person speaking and what they're talking about, because I want to know it. I want to hear it. But a show, I don't have to be thinking about. It's just background, and it's okay. And then I like my quiet time. Then sometimes I do shut everything off, and it's just quiet in the house, and it's beautiful. But I know myself now. It's like, I know myself. I don't have to make excuses. I hear people all the time say things like, oh, we don't watch TV. We don't waste our time with that. It's a colossal waste of time. I don't disagree, but you have to decide what works for you. And if it is pulling you, or if it's distracting you, like if you know it's distracting you from doing the things that you need to do, then it's not helpful. And you know what? Here's one thing I have definitely learned. Even self-help conversations, listening to, all these self-help gurus, listening to them speak is also a distraction, because you could just listen and read and listen and read and do nothing with the information that you're receiving. And you have to give yourself that time to sit and digest it. One thing I know about myself is that I have learned that I take in all information. It could be a sappy ass romantic comedy. It could be a sitcom. It could be anything. It could be a drama. It could be a self-help speaker. But I take that information in, and then I take what I need to hear. Sometimes some of the best like insight has come from the stupidest shows I've ever watched. But it was the info, but I honed in on that information, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. And it could have been something that I've watched numerous times, but it just all of a sudden clicked with me. And I'm so appreciative of when that happens, because it's something that I needed to hear at that moment in time. And then I decide what I'm going to take from that. And I've really relished in the fact that I've observed my surroundings. I stop and I don't say much. I used to be, like Madeline said, the filler. I didn't like when the conversation, when there was quietness. I always felt like I had to have a conversation with somebody. And now I kind of let them do all the talking and then speak. I mean, I get on my little, like if I had too much coffee, I'll go speaking really quickly and a lot. But I like hearing, I like seeing, also witnessing how people speak, noticing how they fill in the time. if you give them an answer and then they just keep going and they keep going because they are not comfortable with the silence. So they always have to fill in the time. And it's been very interesting to observe this behavior in people and then ask myself, why do we do that? Why did I do that? Why is this person doing that? Not to judge that person, not to fix that person, but just to help me understand and make better choices on my end. You're in mute, honey.
I'm sorry, this cough is bad.
Okay.
I think when you said about when you watch, and it can be the most like silly thing, but with the most powerful message in it. Or it could be something that you've watched and it was in that moment. Because see, when you believe in something bigger than you, then you believe that it will conspire to bring you where you have to be, which will take me to the alchemist. But when I read each time I've read the alchemist, which is about 10 times now, I've gotten something different out of it. So some people would like, oh, everybody suggested. Don't read what everybody suggests because you're following the masses. I went to the bookstore the other day. I love bookstores. It's like very orgasmic. And then I went to that self-help section. And people are making shit up as they go along, badass. And there was so many titles in that section that I was like, what the heck? Like, what the fuck happens now? What the fuck are you gonna do now? Shit fucking happens. And they were all by the same author. Then they cotton candy the covers. You know that tangerine orange and that green apple, that sour green apple color, and then you had the unicorn turquoise, and they were all there, and then they were all next to the books that the badass likes. What's that girl you like?
Uh, Talking about Brene Brown,
No, no,
Jen
uh,
Sincero.
no. The is it her? The what? Yeah, what book did she write?
She wrote the badass ones.
So she has several now.
Yes.
And then it's like get your shit together journal. And I'm noticing, I've always been a salty sailor. I was raised by one of the best. I've been accused that people who curse a lot are ignorant and closed-minded, but it's been scientifically proven those are the highly intelligent people, and I consider myself that. And I'm gonna fucking say what I say whenever I want to say it to whomever I want to say because it is my right, right? But when I read that on all those bookshelves at 4 to 6 year old eye level, I'm like, how did they get published and are sitting in Barnes and Nobles? I'm in Barnes and Nobles, but through online, you know? And I'm looking at this. And again, it's not a comparison because my book is my book. But they're just selling
Okay to
whatever
see it's a
they're selling.
comparison.
And they're using all these words to grab attention.
Yes.
And it was very disappointing to me. And I believe I had the conversation with the badass when I said, I was it was heartbreaking because I told her, I said, I went to the bookstore today and I felt empty. And normally I go to the bookstore, I'm in there 2 hours is the max. But I go and I go to different spots and I collect a different book. And then I go to the coffee section, I get my coffee, I sit down, I go through the books at the table. That's my alone time. And I just couldn't wait to get out of there. And it was very disappointing at the books they have when you come in at the round tables and all that. And I'm just saying, be aware that you are rare.
Be
You don't
aware.
gotta be like me and the gladiator and the badass Buddha. The badass Buddha does not have to be like the gladiator guru. The reason we lasted this long on the show is because we bring a phenomenal dynamic of our own. And although it may seem like we're like boom, 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 we respect one another because we know that we are different, but we respect the other to know not to disrespect how we are. And I think that's what we need to do. Like we were talking about, we have all these things, the music, the TV. Yeah, you know what? If you find yourself, there was a meme of this lady sitting on a recliner with a big soda, bag of potato chips, and all food on the side in her bathrobe, food dripping. And she's looking back at her kid holding a marijuana plant with one leaf. And she goes, drug addict. And the thing is that we forget that addiction is everything that we do in excess. If the badass Buddha goes out into her barn and is in there for 12 hours and she's sweaty and she's dirty and she's ripped some clothes, and that's an addiction of trying to control everything that's in there and get it out, and I want it like this and it has to, because guess what she's doing?
Exercise
She
too.
is risking her health, her exhaustion level, her blood pressure is high. She probably hasn't eaten. She can get dizzy, falling, get hurt. So there's a risk of that. And she's neglecting her well being. And what do addicts do? They neglect their well being. So when next time you look at somebody who's an
You're
alcoholic
saying I'm
or a
an addict.
known drug user, don't judge. Use discernment, because we all fall under that drug addict addiction type of category, whether it's sugar, whether it's heroin. So when we are being who we are and what we know is not about force feeding down somebody's throat, what it is about sharing knowledge and then hoping they get it. But at least you exhausted all your options by sharing that seed, and then you go on to the next one. Because one thing I read is like your feelings are valid, and you should know that. We all need to know our feelings are valid, right, badass? We all have valid feelings, whether it happened 20 years ago and we smell a cologne, or we're walking by, we see an antique picture, or our kids say something, we're like, where the hell they get that from? And, but it's let it do what it do. It only came to remind you of a moment that
Our
made you
feelings,
happy.
our feelings are valid, absolutely, but it's
But do
that
you need to
expression.
have so
But
many of
it's
them?
it's that expression that you always say that that's what you have to think in your head. Feelings come to us, right, to go through us. And
Mhm.
that makes so much sense. Because yeah, sometimes you'll get into that space where you'll hear something or see something, you get a little insulted or you get a little pissed off or you get a little emotional or upset about it. And you have to acknowledge it. You can't deny it. That's the worst thing to do, is ever deny how you feel. But let it run through you. Let it like acknowledge that you feel that way. And this is part of mindfulness practice anyways. Acknowledge that you feel that way. Don't judge how you feel that way. Just ask yourself, why do I feel that way? Because if it's an emotion that you don't want to have or a reaction that you don't want to have, you just have to acknowledge it and say, okay, why is this bothering me? What is it it's just like somebody who's overweight and they're very upset about the way that they look, and then somebody makes a statement that might not even be directed towards them about their weight, and they get very reactive to it and they get upset about it because it's a sensitive spot. So when this person says, oh, you triggered me, it's because you haven't resolved it yet. And that's the reality. We don't want to admit that to ourselves, and that's part of the I own that we have to. The accountability piece is, if you get triggered by something, you have to be accountable to the fact that this has not been resolved for you, and be truthful to yourself about it and say, okay, I haven't resolved this. So this is definitely something that I really have to still work on. But don't shame yourself, don't guilt yourself, don't beat yourself up about it. Just say, why the hell is this such an issue with me? Why don't I care? Why does this bother me so much? I mean, one thing that I used to be really insecure about was, good morning, Jonathan, 2 days in a row. Um, I used to be very insecure with my knowledge, my education. I had a lot of education. I had a lot more education than most people, especially in the field of health and human science. And I taught it. And in the beginning, I didn't it made me very uncomfortable when people knew more than I did, because I was insecure. I didn't want people to think I didn't know this. Nobody knows everything. And when I finally let go of that piece of it and began to admit when I didn't know something and say, oh, I don't know that, I'll have to look that up, even when a student would ask it, But I was able to do it with students. But when I was with a group of people, I felt it necessary, and this is not different than a lot of people, that I had to let them know what I knew. Like I had to bring a topic up that I knew so that they can see how smart I was. And this is just something that's even within the last year that I've really come to terms with and finally said, oh my God, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they're either going to get to know me and they'll know what I'm capable of and they'll know my knowledge and my insight, or they won't. But I don't need to, in the first few minutes of a conversation of meeting somebody, let them know my whole story so they know how smart I am. And you know what? I am smart, but I'm not the smartest. I mean,
Who is?
there's plenty of shit that I'm like, blah, 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 and I'm thinking, God, how did I get all these years and not know this?
How many books the Britannica has, for
Oh
crying
my
out loud?
God,
So yeah, and I've met a lot of people like that. I have. And you know what? It's okay because we all have to go through something. Like I told you, I would say, well, I'm Puerto Rican and Italian. What do you expect? When people are like, you're so violent, I'm Puerto Rican and Italian. So it's like you do all this stuff and you try to like, nah, Gail, if you were here, I would kiss you. I hate, I despise, I loathe people who want to say, oh, you triggered me. I don't care who gets offended. That's my trigger. Because you're absolutely right. It is your responsibility. That is your unresolved issue. That is you running away from shit, and now you're trying to put it on me because now you're feeling something that you've been neglecting in your own heart, mind, and spirit. That's an inside job. You know? It's like, you know what? There's two movies that are my ultimate favorite. Scarface and The Godfather. Favorite. And in Scarface, Tony Montana said, I never fucked over anybody that didn't have it coming. And meaning that I'm not doing you wrong, but I'm checking your ass. So you're not going to push that down to me. You're not going to use the blame game. You know what? If you're wounded, if you're sensitive, if you're highly triggered, stay home. And we are raising people in this society to be so sensitive and to have put all their feelings. What does that say about us? Why do I have to lay down the carpet for you because you might be offended? I don't even know you. So, you know what? Take it, own it, fix it. I'm not. I'm not the carpenter of your life.
Yeah, and the only person that can fix it is us. It's the only person. I mean, my sister wrote that it's because we were told we weren't smart enough most of our lives. I mean, I could use that as the excuse, and it's a legit excuse, but I had to believe that, and then I can unbelieve it. It's like, do I really need to hear that validation that I'm smart enough? Like I check my daughter, my youngest one, all the time. Like my youngest one will make a statement to me, and she'll say um, something along the lines of like, how, like, if I compliment somebody else, I notice she does this. Like I'll say, "Oh my God, that little girl is like so freaking adorable. Like she's very pretty." And my daughter will go, "And I'm not pretty." And I'm like, "Do you need me? Do you need to hear me tell you that you're pretty?" And I'm trying. It's not that I don't want to compliment my daughter. I don't want her to rely on hearing compliments from the outside. I want her
It'll
to
lead
look
to
at herself and
insecurity.
say,
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm pretty. I don't need to hear it from you. So I'll ask her that question. I'll say, of course, I think you're beautiful. You're beautiful outside. You're beautiful inside. And I will tell you that. But if I compliment somebody else, is it important for you to hear me say how beautiful you are? Because I do not want my child to be raised entitled and feeling needy enough to have to hear that following me complimenting somebody else. So it's something that I've learned this over the years, that I don't need the validation anymore. I mean, it's lovely to be recognized. Don't get me wrong. It really is. It's lovely to be appreciated, but I don't have to hear it from somebody. It's just, I don't have to know that they're telling people. I don't have to be thanked for doing a job. I can tell by their response that they're grateful. So I don't have to hear it. I want my children to be raised properly so that they do say thank you. So I will comment, especially on the younger one, please and thank you. Thank you, mom. Because I want her to grow up to be kind to people and acknowledge that. But its actions speak louder than words, because that's one thing I have definitely learned over the last few years is words can be just bullshit. They're just words. People say what they want to say, and people hear what they want to hear. And the words are not as powerful as the actions behind them. And that's what I've been working on, is my action aligns with who I am and my belief system, because the words can mean nothing. If I tell somebody that I love you, I love you. And I could tell that to somebody I just met, and I will preface it, or I'll say it afterwards and say, listen, I say that to people, like, I think you're great. Don't take it further if if it makes you uncomfortable, but that's just the person I am. And sometimes I feel like I have to explain it in that sense, because I don't want somebody to feel uncomfortable. But
if they look at, sometimes I say I love you and they'll look at me crazy, and I'm like, but you're right. Because my brother once told me, it was a couple years ago, 2000, and we still talk about it to this day. He said, beloved, I am so in love with you.
yeah, I love that
And
expression.
and I was like, are you okay? Now, mind you, I was when he said that to me, that's when we were dealing with Anaya just being diagnosed with leukemia.
Hmm.
And then he said it again when Eric was diagnosed with ALS. And then when I was back home, we were talking about it. And he's like, when I say that, he says, because I am in love with you. I am in love with my sister, who is so outspoken, who's a wordsmith, who doesn't give a shit, because he's a lot like me. I love that you don't hurt people, but you say things to people, and you say it because it is what they're projecting to be, and they need to hear it in
Yes.
truthfulness. And truthfulness isn't always pretty. So when I say I love you, you take it and run with it, or you throw it in the garbage. Once I give you something, it's up to you to do something.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, badass, but I don't feel like if I say I love you to somebody, I say I love you to my realtor when we hang up. She might feel uncomfortable, but that's again, her issue. Why is she uncomfortable when somebody's saying I love you?
I don't say it all the time. If I feel that they're like uncomfortable, they don't know me well enough, you know what I mean? Like, if I've just met people, like the crane operator that came to drop off the container. I'm like, oh my God, I love you so much. You have no idea. Because this guy was so jovial and so happy. And I was freaked out by watching him pick this 13,000-pound container and pick it up over power lines that, if it dropped, would have taken out the power to the house. And he made it so comfortable. Like, he was so easygoing. And so I said, and I didn't have to explain myself to him, because I knew he got it. You know what I mean? So, but I love that freedom, because I never was like that before. My sister and I were just talking about it. Like, our mother never hangs up a phone and says, I love you. She's like, well, I don't want to say never. Very rarely does she say, I love you. We say it first. But for many years, I would hang up phone calls with people and not say, I love you. And I finally said, what the hell? I love this person. Why am I not going to say, I love you? And I don't need to hear it back. If they don't say it back, there's no expectation of hearing it back. I'm not saying it to hear it back. I'm going to tell them how I feel about them. And if they're not comfortable with saying it to me, I get it. There's no judgment. But I got to tell you, as much as I do it now, my friends, they'll say it to me all the time. Like, and I love it. I love that part that I have owned and let go of feeling odd about making that statement to people. I'm so in love with the fact that I say that. And I love that your brother said, I'm in love with you, because that's another statement. I'm in love with you used to be quote for significant others,
Yes.
and now I'm like, no, I own the fact that I can decide what that is, and I will tell people I'm so in love with you, like because I am, I mean, I love, that's like Ephraim. When you talk to Ephraim, he's like, I'll say that, I'm so in love with you, and he knows what I mean. I'm not looking, it's not looking for romance or something like that. It's legit. I really am in love with you. I'm in love with you. It's a deeper level of respect and love for somebody. And again, if they're not able to handle it on their side, there's no judgment. Let it resonate with them. But the energy that comes off of it, they know what I mean by it. And like I said, every so often I will have to explain it to somebody if I'm seeing their bodily reaction. But most of the time I don't. And I do let it go, and just, they, like I said, once they get to know me, they know what I'm all about.
You know, it's so funny. See, that's the difference, the dynamics. I love someone's joy and sense of play, their curiosity. And yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Something similar to that, Gail. When I see that they look funny, like when I say "Mwah, love you bunches" or whatever, um, I'll say, "You okay? Are you uncomfortable with that?" And then they're like, well, I'm not used to it. But I don't explain why I said it. I just ask them, are you uncomfortable with that? And I say it in a way that it's still a happy tone. Now, when my kids were little, and to this day we still say it, I'll say, and Tiffany, she's so, that's like her favorite. Te quiero, right? I'll say te quiero, and she says, te adoro. And I said, te amo, and she'll say, te necesito. And it means I like you, I adore you, I love you, I need you. And from a mother and a daughter, te quiero, I'll say te quiero, te adoro, te amo, te necesito. And it's just been something we've always said, meaning we're going to be there for one another no matter what happens. That's how it ends. And so because in any husband and wife, mother and child relationship, you're not going to love your kid. Well, you're going to love your kid all the time. You're not going to like them fuckers all the time. One,
No, I love my
right?
kids, but my kids could be assholes and pains in the ass, and
Yes.
so can I.
And you're not, and you're going to love your kids, but they're not going to be adorable to you all the time. But you're going to love your kids, and you're always going to be there for them every time. And that's what that little thing we made up when they were young that we still say to each other today that we do. Um, because that's who we are. Women, you know what? I'm going to make something like The Power of Pussy, my art series of The Power of Pussy. I haven't finished creating the notebook series of every painting that I created for that series, because no one can replace us as a wife, as a mother, as a sister, as a daughter, in whatever order you want to put it in. What I'm saying is, be your authentic self. No one can replace you. You are the portal of life. You are the strongest species to ever exist in this universe. You have understanding, misunderstandings, no understandings. Fuck that understanding. You own that shit. Okay, categorize it to work in your benefit. You are not below, beneath anybody. Okay? You were born with a purpose and a mission to procreate. Without us, no child can be born. And I don't care what they're creating in factories. See, they've been trying to duplicate us so that they can totally control us for a very long time. You're the greatest gift God has created. Okay? You're the breeder of life. So act accordingly. And if you need to fix something, if you need to eliminate something, if you need to add something, if you need to sharpen, remember, iron sharpens iron. And let us be there for one another to sharpen each other. Because without what we have, You know what? People, places, and things are trying very hard to replace us women, us mothers, us, second creators of life. So stand firm, learn what you must, eliminate what's been holding you back from learning what you must, be the brightest star in your universe, give love, give kindness, be grateful, and take no shit. You were in labor for how many hours? You carried a kid inside of you for how many weeks? Be that fucking badass guru that you have always been from the beginning and start shedding everybody else's bullshit. Okay? And if you get confused as to what you're doing and what you're supposed to doing, pull your shirt up and your pants down and look at those damn stretch marks. Okay, you're a shabby chic creation, but then you look around and you see those people walking around that came from you. There's nobody that can knock you down. And if you fell, rise. That's what you should know about yourself as a woman. Buckle up, buttercup, and go for that ride that you were born to do. And with that, I'm done.
All right. And thank you for staying on extra. So Tuesday is Halloween. So we're going to expect you to dress up. We won't see you, but we'll expect you to dress up. So we're going to end the month with what have I learned? That's what we're going to be talking about. So it's a recap of your entire self for the entire year. All right. So bring it on. Think about things, sit with yourself this weekend, and really get ready for Tuesday's conversation. So
Drop the
thanks
mic.
everybody for having
What?
a weekend. Yep, look at that. Drop the mic. That's what Madeline said. And Gail said, have a great weekend. And thank you. I love this tribe. We love you, Evelyn. We thank you so much for being. We thank everybody for being here with all their comments and insight. So here we go. From the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
Yes. Necessities 101 again, Bridget Williams. These I got from somewhere else, but thank you, Madeline. Remember from, who am I? The Gladiator Guru, La Margarita, to breathe in the beauty and breathe out that bullshit, mi gente. Have a great, great weekend.